So it was reported last week that the Democrats have sent out a letter to Heather Hill. She is the current acting Treasury Inspector General for tax admin over at the department. And they have expressed some serious concerns about the Trump administration's firing of not just the 7,000 workers that were let go in February, but it was also leaked and rumored that they are also looking at terminating almost 50%, so half of the current staff over at the IRS. So we've got the full letter in front of us here. I won't bore you with reading all of it, but this letter was put together by Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ron Wyden, and it was also joined with them by close to another 130 Democrat lawmakers. So they just outlined their concerns for what these staffing cuts will mean for the IRS and ultimately how it impacts taxpayers and revenue collections, right? How much more difficult is it going to make it for the IRS to be able to collect revenue each year from not just individuals that owe money, but businesses as well. So I've highlighted some of the key points here, which I think are worth noting. So the big push or the big surge in employment came from the Inflation Reduction Act. So they've got a major boost in funding under that bill. And accordingly, they implemented a number of new campaigns to audit large businesses and mostly target taxpayers that had flat out just not filed at all. So they had this wealthy taxpayer campaign where there were a lot of individuals who they knew earned a lot of money. And it wasn't just that they weren't paying taxes, they weren't even filing a return. They just did nothing at all. So highlighted here, the investment in the IRA, so that's the Inflation Reduction Act. In only 2 years, they used the increased funding to recover over $1.3 billion from wealthy taxpayers who were delinquent on their taxes. And they used the money to launch more digital tools for Americans filing their taxes, more so than the previous 20 years combined. So certainly an increase in enforcement and audit that happened. They claim it went mostly towards the wealthy taxpayers. Remember, they had that promise that they weren't going to increase the audit rates for individuals that made, I think it was $400,000 a year. But other things that certainly improved is the average wait time. So this has always been a big sticking point for a lot of individuals, whether you're a tax professional or just an individual that needs to file your return and pay your taxes, was always the wait time on phone calls. So many times you would call, be placed on hold, you'd be on hold for an hour, maybe even more. And then there were other times you would call and you wouldn't even get the notification to just wait and be on hold. They would just flat out say there's no waiting room, hang up the phone and call back at a later time. So the data that they have here, they say that they reduced the average phone wait time from 28 minutes in 2022 to just 3 minutes during the 2023 filing season, and they maintain those levels through the 2024 tax year. So they also initiated and expanded a number of campaigns designed to crack down on highly sophisticated tax evasion structures used by ultra wealthy taxpayers and large corps. So the usual things that have been used and arguably, abused in some cases. So offshore tax structures, opaque partnerships, which are extremely difficult to audit. So what they're highlighting there is you have a lot of partnership entities that are tiered. So you'll have one partnership that has income that flows through to another, and then so on and so forth. And so you could have many, many tiers of partnerships, and it just makes it difficult to try to track how the money is flowing down to the ultimate taxpayer, so the individual or the corporation that are actually going to pay the money. Now, so the latest actions here, right? So on February 20th, the IRS started firing employees in massive layoffs ordered by the administration. And that was that initial 7,000 person purge, right? Those were the temporary employees or the probationary employees that hadn't been at the organization long enough, or they didn't have the same kind of protections that you would if you were a non-probationary employee. So they started getting rid of those individuals. And then now, again, it's been rumored that they're looking to get almost 50% of the IRS staff to be let go No timing yet on when that would happen, whether it would be kind of a slow rollout or they would just get a list together of half the employees they no longer want there, and then do the same thing they've been doing before. They're giving people buyouts, in order to terminate their contract. Again, no details yet on what would happen there, but still left to be seen. So the big thing here is, what is their ask? So they want the ask in this letter is they want an evaluation of the administration's decision to fire the initial 7,000 employees, right, and close over 100 offices. So it was also reported that the administration is looking to sell, I think, close to 400 federal buildings, a lot of which the IRS occupies. So they're looking to trim down on the number of federal offices, also close a lot of IRS offices. And so they need a determination of whether this is going to undermine progress that the IRS has made over these last 3 years to enhance collection and enforcement practices. And then more broadly, its impact on the agency's mission to provide American taxpayers top quality service by helping them understand and meet their responsibilities and enforce the law with integrity and fairness. So we'll see what comes of it. The thing with a lot of these letters is, quite frankly, a lot of them get sent off, but nothing ever happens. Anybody that follows these letters, regardless of what party is sending them out, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, a lot of these letters largely go either unnoticed or people just forget about them. So I imagine they will do something, right? They are going to look into this because you can't just fire half of the staff without being able to show that there's not going to be any drop in service for taxpayers, right? Again, if we call the IRS, you expect to be on hold for only a short period of time before you can actually get a hold of a live person and be able to talk to them. So we'll see what happens. But that covers it for this update. I hope that was helpful. I will put a link below in the description to the letter. So there's an actual letter in PDF format that's available on a lot of the senators and congressmen and women's websites. The one we looked at earlier was with Senator Blumenthal's site. But yeah, if you're interested in reading through it and following the updates, I'll put all those links below. And as always, I appreciate you watching the video and sticking with me to the end here. And I hope you have a very happy and stress-free tax season this year. All right, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.